how to build muscle over the age of 40, and actually, can you even do that naturally without juicing and using steroids, which has been the common theme these days. We're gonna go deep into that, but before we do that, click the subscribe button below, because on this channel, you're gonna learn how to build a strong, healthy, high-performing body as a successful entrepreneur. What's up everyone, this is Coach Amir from SevenFigureBody.com, and in today's video, are you actually able to build good, decent amount of muscle and a great physique after the age of 40? And of course, this, age of 40 kind of level is just one of the arbitrary numbers that, is common. A lot of times people ask, can I actually build any muscle after the age of 35? Is it actually true that, mid to late 20s, everything starts to decline? You guys have probably heard there is a concept called sarcopenia, which simply means age-related muscle loss. So we have heard, all of us probably, that hey, mid to late 30s, which is what most people have heard, everything kind of in your body starts to go down. Your testosterone goes down as a man. The amount of muscle you have is lowering every year you lose whatever percentage of muscle. Now, good news there is you absolutely can build decent amount of muscle and a great physique at any age, not just at age 40, but actually at age 50, 60, 70, all into, the 90s. One study actually showed that people in their 90s, after 8 weeks of resistance training, built on average 175% more strength, 175% at age 90. So people who've never lifted, put them on resistance training, meaning, like lifting weights, whether in the gym, in your garage, at home, whatever it is, resistance training is key for building muscle. So there are two things that we really need to do in order to build muscle. These rules never change, whether you're, age 18 or 88, it does not matter. It's lifting weights, meaning some kind of resistance training, which again, does not have to be in the gym. You can lift weights at home, in your garage, you can do just body weight, you can, use any type of resistance. It can be cables, machines, bands, whatever it is, but most commonly used one is the gym. So we do resistance training, number one, that stimulates muscles to grow and adapt and become fitter and stronger. And then two is we eat enough protein, because protein literally builds muscle, okay? Now, can you build muscle over the age of 40? Abso-freaking-lutely, of course you can. There are multiple studies that I'm gonna link some of them in the description below, where several studies where they take groups of people who are in their 20s and then groups of people who are either 50s, 60s, or 70s, and they actually put them on the similar training program, and they all build a similar amount of muscle and strength. So this basically means that it doesn't matter what your age is, if you start training in the gym properly, meaning doing resistance training properly and eating enough protein and have a good diet, you will be building proportionally similar amount of muscle. Now, is there a little bit of difference there? Yes. There is one study that showed that essentially after the age of 60, the anabolic response becomes a bit lower. So what does this mean? So look at it this way. Your resistance training workout, whether it be, again, in the gym, but let's just for now say you're going to the gym twice a week, okay? For most people, more than enough to start and end your basically, all of your gym career or muscle building career twice a week, more than enough, okay? And you do that forever, essentially never stop. So what happens in the gym? After you have lifted weights, now your body's actually in what is known as the anabolic window. It simply means a certain period of time after that workout where your body's now incentivized to build muscle. As you start training at any age, when you're a beginner lifter, this can last up to 3 days. So you lift the weights today at 2 p.m. until 3 p.m. and for the next 3 days, your body's building more muscle than it normally is if you didn't train. As you become more advanced, let's say after a year, you now become a intermediate lifter. Now this anabolic window, the amount of time that your body spends building more muscle, shortens to about 24 hours. It goes from 3 to 1 day, right? Now there's some evidence that shows that as you become an advanced lifter, so let's say 5+ years of lifting career under your belt, now, this time that you can build more muscle lowers to only like 5 to 8 hours after the workout, okay? Now, this makes sense because as you're building more muscle, you're getting closer to your maximum genetic potential and less muscle you can build. This is why for beginner lifters, pretty much very little amount of work and time in the gym is going to create amazing results. This is when it comes to building muscle and strength. This is why actually, for most people starting out, it's not necessary for you to be in the gym 4 times, 5 times a week. You can if you like it, but are you gonna get better results from that 5 times versus 3 times? Probably not, because you've already reached the threshold of maximum building, muscle building potential level at that level, and then more just doesn't do much, right? It's similar with protein. Once you've had enough protein, just adding more doesn't do much. You can't force feed muscle growth. If you could, bodybuilders would be eating, 1,000 grams of protein a day and be like 500 pounds monsters, which that we know that doesn't happen because it doesn't work that way. Just physiology has certain rules that we can't go, above or around. Like, it's just what they are. So know that you absolutely can build muscle at any age, and anywhere pretty much from 20s to 60s, the amount of muscle, the speed of your metabolism, nothing really changes much, assuming that you're doing proper strength training. So for example, some studies have shown that actual decline in the overall population, general population, starts from the age of 20. They actually start losing muscle from the age of 20, and then it just progressively getting lower over the decades. Now, if you look at that, you can say, hey, but didn't you just say that you don't lose muscle? I said, you don't lose muscle if you are actually properly strength training and eating enough protein, which very, very, very few people percentage-wise, if you look at the general population, with like 3-4% of population or whatever it is, depends on where in the world, but less than 5 to 10% of all the population has a gym membership. So 90% of people never step foot in the gym their whole lives. How are they going to maintain muscle? So because of this, the conclusion of one study was sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle loss again, happens not due to age. Just your age, just you being 40 versus 20 versus 50 is not the reason you lose muscle. The reason is lifestyle. It's sedentary lifestyle where people, after they get married, they start to, generally be less active. Even if they had some kind of sports, they're like, yeah, now I have kids and a job and like all of this, I can't really work out, and they stop working out, right? So that's for people who were active when they were younger. A lot of people are just not active even when they're younger, meaning they're not doing some sports, they're not going to the gym. That's okay. Know that wherever you are, it's never too late. You absolutely can build a very, very good amount of muscle. Also know, muscle is muscle in men and women. There's no difference in their strength. A pound of muscle in a man, builds or pushes or produces, a certain amount of power and strength just the same as women, and also just the same at any age. So a 70-year-old's pound of muscle does not have any difference versus a 20-year-old's pound of muscle. They are the same. It's just over time, as people are sedentary, their testosterone goes down, they lose muscle. That's why they're weaker, not because 70-year-old is inherently weaker than a 20-year-old. So let's put it this way. For example, 60-year-old who's been very active, lifting weights and has good amount of muscle is going to be much, much, much stronger than a 20-year-old who isn't lifting weights and doesn't have as much muscle, right? It's what you put in, that's what you get out. It's literally up to you what you can do. And also, we know when it comes to getting lean, if you keep and maintain the amount of muscle you have, decades going forward, your metabolic rate will not decline. It will not reduce because the speed of your metabolism, if you will, is mainly related to the amount of muscle you have. So if you don't lose muscle, why would it be any lower when you're 50 than when you're 35? So as I am personally going into this year, I'm going to be 40 years old. I will absolutely do, whatever I need to do in order to keep the amount of muscle that I have now decades in the future, and my speed of my metabolic rate, which simply means how many calories my body burns, is not going to be any less when I'm 50, when I'm 60, compared to what it is today. So please remember, can you build muscle at 40? Absolutely. Can you build muscle at 60? Yes, there is one study, meta-analysis from 2020, showed that there is a little bit of slowdown when it comes to age of 60 and over. And that is related to anabolic signaling basically being lower. This is known as the anabolic resistance, which simply means the body becomes a little less sensitive response of the body to two things that are anabolic, which is resistance training and eating protein, right? These are the two things that have an anabolic response. Both of these things a little bit decline after the age of 60, but that is less than 10%. So what does that mean? You can either eat a little bit more muscle, work out a little bit more or more intensely. There's a bunch of things we can do, but then let's say you don't do any of that. You actually are in great shape, you're strong, and after the age of, let's say it's 65, you lose 10% of your muscle and 10% of your strength, which again, bunch of things you can do for that not to happen. But let's say if it does, remember, that's not a big deal. You're still gonna be in the 0.0001% of people your age and gender, and probably at the elite level of everything when it comes to strength and muscle size and longevity and everything else that you're gonna get from that. So please remember, even though there's a little bit of decline between ages 60 and 90, it's about 10%. It's not really a big deal when it comes to metabolic, the speed of your metabolism and losing body fat, which is all, as we know, comes down to calories. Again, maybe 10%, 15% because of this muscle loss. If it happens, then what does that mean? So let's say somebody's 60 years old and they want in great shape. They want to get in great shape. What's going to happen? They need to, be a little bit more patient, because if all the numbers are 10% less, okay, instead of 4 months to get in great shape, it may take 5 months. So what? Right? It's not like it's going to take 4 months versus 10 years. No, the difference is 10%, right? So very, very, very small difference, and really negligible when it comes to putting the fundamentals in. You can absolutely build phenomenal body, very lean, high amount of muscle, good strength, look and feel amazing well into your 80s and even 90s. It's all about what we put in. So guys, hope you like this video. Put the comments and questions in the comments below. I want to see what you guys think. If you ever thought that you can't build muscle when you're 40 years old or 50 or any age, let me know if you have any questions about this. I'd love to answer them. So click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.